This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
Happy New Year. This is Scott Wells for the magicwordpodcast.com. Well, what a great year this has been over the last 12 months here in 2025, and now we're going to begin another 12 months. So let's wind this calendar up and go another year. It's going to be so much fun. I have a lot of plans to go to several conventions, not as many perhaps as I have in previous years. I'm going to try to scale back a little bit, but there are some that I just can't avoid. I must attend, and hopefully we'll get around to giving you a daily update from the conventions as well, and also while I'm there to be able to have an opportunity to chat with some of the magicians who are in attendance. And I also want to thank all those people who had reached out to me and have called me or texted me everything. I know the picture I was posting on Facebook looked rather dire as far as me being in a hospital bed and looked like I was near death's door, but I wasn't at all. It was just a cardio version in which they were jump-starting my heart, basically. They just stop it, and then a millisecond later they restart it and get you back into rhythm, which is exactly what they did, and I was able to go out the door and carry on my way. So thank you very much for your concern, and hopefully everything will continue to stay ticking the way that it should, and I hope that it does then too. It's been a very busy season, I know, for most magicians, and I have been very busy as Santa Claus this season, as I have been sitting in the Santa Claus chair and having kids come up and tell me what they want for Christmas, and it's always a lot of fun to spread joy and sunshine, I guess, just to different families, and it's just been really wonderful. And if you ever get an opportunity as you grow older to grow a beard and a belly and a little longer hair, then I'm sure they'll be looking for Santa Clauses in some store near you that would love to have you. It's just a different way of, entertaining children, and something that they will remember for the rest of their lives too. Anyhow, I wish everyone really a Merry Christmas. That was last week. We are now actually here on New Year's Day. I really haven't had a chance to chat with you because we didn't have an episode last week because it was Christmas Day and I wanted people to spend time with their families. I know that today is a day also for a lot of families who are coming together for football and barbecue and just a lot of celebrating and having fun. And the holiday is not completely over until after the 1st of January. But I figured some of you might still have time to listen to this podcast. And I know that you're going to enjoy our guest that we had today. While I was at Abbott's get-together this past year, I was speaking with several magicians, one of whom I have been holding on to here for a little while, and there's no reason that I shouldn't have released it any earlier, because this is a wonderful conversation with some good advice that he shares with us, and that's Derek Hughes. Derek has been around for quite some time. He was finished as one of the finalists in America's Got Talent in the 10th season, and he has also been on Penn and Fool Us. He's done a lot of comedy clubs, et cetera, nightclubs, and has even written a children's book. He's going to talk about that and so much more here this week in our episode. I'm so thankful that I had the time to sit down. Let me say, I'm so thankful that he gave me the time to sit down with me to discuss all these things and share his thoughts with me that I know you will enjoy. So please welcome my guest this week, Mr. Derek Hughes, here on The Magic Word. Today I have with me a comedy magician and someone I've been wanting to talk with for a while, who is on the comedy circuit, which is kind of funny because there's really not a comedy circuit per se, the way there used to be comedy clubs in the old days. But beyond that, he has been working with the Carbonaro Effect on TRUtv as a executive consultant, producer, and also was in season 10 of America's Got Talent and went pretty far, and we can talk about some of that, and has has also been nominated by the Academy of Magical Arts for a few awards from time to time. Tours the United States, probably been outside the U.S. a time or two, I imagine, but mostly is just, again, working as a comedy magician, and we have so much to talk about. Please welcome my friend and my guest today, Derek Hughes. Hi there, Derek.
Hey.
So glad that you're here. Thank you very much for having a chance to sit down with me on this. I was just mentioning about the Magic Castle. You said that you had been nominated a few times, but what's the award? Is it for a comedy?
I've been nominated for Parlor Magician of the Year. I've been nominated for Stage Magician of the Year for working in the Palace. And now, since I moved away from LA, the venue that I've been performing in is the Peller. And that is sort of folded in, I think, with the Parlor Awards.
Okay.
I don't quite know where it lands in the award nomination. But boy, I would love a John Gone wand. I'm telling you.
They're nice. They're the nicest things.
Dreamy.
Yeah. Well, it is a beautiful thing, and I know to be nominated means a lot.
It really does.
Certainly. And having done just that myself, having been nominated as the best magic podcaster for FISM, but not winning it, still being nominated, that means a lot.
Recognition.
Certainly. A little recognition among your peers, and that's really pretty darn cool. And I wanted to ask about when you had worked on America's Got Talent. One of the things that you're supposed to do is to have a story. And as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought your story was you were talking like about your family and your children. Wasn't that kind of like your backstory kind of a thing?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
That you're a working dad.
I just think people should know, too, we're at Abbott's get-together right now, and we're in the high school in some back room office space, just to give context to this conversation. We just saw Dan Sperry give an incredible lecture on kids show magic.
Yes.
And that's a juxtaposition.
I was about to use that very word.
So great. So I knew going into America's Got Talent, I had lunch with Jim Steinmeier, and he gave me the best piece of advice. He said, never forget, it's 10% talent show, it's 90% reality TV show. He really leaned into it's so important that you embrace a story of some sort. Why does America care? Why do they want you to win? What does it mean for you to win? Whether it's contrived or authentic, something to embrace.
Right.
And I think that's also important to really capture and zero in on a story, because those producers are in control of the message, and they can edit any way they want every artist to look one way or the other.
They can.
So off Steinmeier's advice, I really leaned into sort of a stump speech. I knew that we were going to be doing a lot of interviews, and they interview for hours and hours and hours to get one sentence. I mean, it's unreal.
Pretty grueling.
You are in one room, and then you're going to another group, another camera setup, and you're more questions, a lot of the same questions. And, they're looking for a through line that they can cut together, tell a story, make it interesting. And so I leaned into two things. I knew I had open heart surgery when I was 10, and that was the same time that I got into magic. So that's sort of a nice origin story that can, I can milk a little sympathy, right?
Sure.
And then also being a new father. I had two young boys. My boys were 2 and 4 at the time I did it, and
they were twins, 2 years apart.
2 years apart, yeah. Close to Irish twins.
Yeah,
exactly.
Irish twins.
And so I knew being a dad, and I was doing a lot of road work, so I knew kind of that story of ideally being in one place. The myth of America's Got Talent is if you win America's Got Talent, then you can have a show, in one place. And a lot of performers have made that true,
Shin Lim and
Matt Franco has his own theater, for sure. So that's sort of what I claimed was the goal.
Okay.
In all honesty, the goal was just really high quality network footage for my promo reel.
Credibility.
And I just wanted, I didn't expect to go all the way to the finals. That I just wanted at least one really great usable piece of footage at that time. So, I really just started, all my interviews rotated through, I'm a dad, I want to be home, I miss my boys, they're growing, they change. I come home and even days later and it feels like they've grown. And I had heart surgery when I was a kid, and that that's when I really embraced this dream and the power of healing, and I just rotated through those stories.
Sure.
And then when they finally aired that first episode with the first bio package, those were the two things that they really leaned into, and I was like, yes, okay, awesome. I'm not some hack.
Right.
They're making me out to be maybe a hero. I might actually do a few more episodes.
You might move on forward.
Yeah, exactly.
And you did.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was all the way to the finals that year. It was really great. It was the year after Matt Franco won, so it was lousy with magicians. I mean, the chances of a magician winning 2 years in a row was nil to none, and I knew that. Paul Zerden won. He's a ventriloquist.
From England?
He is from England.
Yeah.
It's called America's Got Talent.
I know. We don't have enough talent here.
What's going on? Bunch of BS.
Yeah. Well, in that regard, I have a friend of mine who is one of these speed painters that does the big pictures and turns them upside down. Then there's Ray Charles. And in the earlier years, I don't know what it was, year 1 or 2 or whatever it was, and they had asked him what he was going to do if you get the $1 million. Will this change your life? And he said, well, right now I'm doing NBA halftime games, and I just came back from China, and while I was there, I did this and that, and I kind of travel around a little bit. So, I'll have a few more opportunities with this. And they said, oh, well, okay, go on. And so then he got booed out, right away, X'd out, and then realized, oh, it's about a story. That was earlier on than what you mean. Obviously, she said 2 or 3 hours worth of interviews. They were looking for something, and if you hadn't had a story, they probably would have said, has there ever been something kind of maybe that? I mean, like for my friend's case, for an example, they probably would have said to him, did you ever trip and fall or break your ankle or something? Something. We got to have an angle. So it's probably based upon those early ones. They've more finally honed it to where you are.
Yeah, and it's funny. Your friend had the same. There was a dilemma with that where they one of the questions they really leaned into was how will winning change your life? And at that point, I never had a straight job. I was, quote, living my dream already. We and wasn't carrying debt. I didn't own yet a home, but we were on our way, and so it was we didn't want to downplay that this is the most important moment of our lives. But it wasn't, but for their show, for their story, it is important that and it is emotional when you see the performers, the artists who move on or get passed through or get a golden buzzer, and they're maybe not professionals. And
correct.
And I mean that emotion that's exciting to watch. That's I get it.
Yeah, I saw Joel Hodgson. We're talking about being here at the Abbott's get together, and Joel Hodgson was here, I think last year or the year before, and he and Matt King had given a joint lecture, and he is just here walking around and hanging out with the folks. You probably chatted with him since you've been here too. And he introduced me to his son, Mateo. And I saw them a couple days later just walking in the street, and I was in Curly's having a pizza. And as I saw him, I just saw the smile on his face. And it really brought tears to my eyes, and Derek, of thinking about, I know what he has gone through as far as like Mystery Science Theater 3000 and being on the comedy circuit, and how hard he's worked to try to be an entertainer and to make enough money to bring home the bacon, and raising a family, and the fact that he's with his son right now, and the smile he had on his face when he turned and was talking to his son is just, I'm starting to choke up just thinking about it, of thinking that this is what I've worked for, and he's with me now, and he is enjoying the fruits, and I am too, of the labor of the times I have had to be away from home in order to provide you with the opportunities that you have now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've been doing a lot of the same thing, I'm sure, as your kids are growing. It's probably was a difficult time for you to be away from your kids many times.
It's always a challenge to be away from them, and they do. The time does go so fast with children.
Sure.
It's quite unbelievable. Eugene Berger, my mentor, talked about on stage that every moment counts, right? Every moment counts on stage in your show. If it doesn't add, it detracts.
Right.
And I would argue that that's true in life too. And when Edward was born, my first kid was born, I had the EMC, every moment counts. I got my first tattoo to remind me, and it happens to make the equation for Einstein's equation, every moment counts.
Yeah.
But that was to remind me, not just on stage, but as a father, that every moment counts, and it goes very fast. And we just had a great time. Mac King was performing at FISM and decided to stay an extra week with Jennifer and enjoy Europe.
You're talking about just recently?
Yeah, now, the FISM 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was just there. I saw their pictures on Facebook, and they were, continuing to stick around and enjoying Italy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, lucky me, I got to fill in for Mac while he was overseas, 2 weeks working the Excalibur.
Right.
Yeah. And the second week, summer vacation, I flew home and grabbed Charlene and the boys, and we all came back and spent a week in Las Vegas together.
Nice.
Yeah. Took them to Piff, David Blaine, David Copperfield, and Penn and Teller. And
that's kind of a cool thing, too, because whenever that you go, you're not just seeing a show with the regular tourists, that you're seeing friends, and that way your kids can kind of say, hey, Dad's part of this group.
It was the coolest, man. I got to tell you, we got some nice VIP treatment, and to get that in the presence of my boys, and to see them looking at me and having the experience, and these big experiences. These are big shows. This is exciting, real stuff. This is a face on the building.
That's right.
And they know your dad's name. I mean, it was really humbling and quite special for me.
Very impressive, I'm sure, for them. So much fun. Now, you mentioned that you moved from LA. So many different things I want to talk about, because you mentioned Eugene Berger, and I just spoke with Jim Cunningham and have an episode with him that's going to be coming out around Halloween, and he was greatly influenced by Eugene Berger. In fact, most of the episodes about him and Eugene and the seances he did. And I knew that I know that you grew up then also in the Minneapolis area, and all those guys, and know John Gaspard and everybody else, through all that. So when you moved from LA, did you go back to Minnesota, or where are you currently?
Yeah, back to Minnesota.
Did you? All right, okay.
Yep. It was, my wife grew up in Redondo Beach. She's Southern Cal, SoCal girl, and she started sending me Zillow listings for homes back in Minnesota. I was like, well, if you're serious,
so am I.
Let's look into it.
Yeah.
And so we're back where I grew up. So I'm back in that community. I see Jim Cunningham. He's fantastic.
And I just also had done one with Larry Kudlow. So that's going to be coming out before long then, too, about
Eagle
the
Magic.
oldest magic shop in the country.
That's
Eagle
where I
Magic.
bought my first
I figured
Easy
it was.
Magic. Easy Magic cups and balls.
After your heart surgery, and so that's kind of what had happened. And so you got the Easy Magic cups and balls, which kind of got you going there.
Well, it's funny. No, heart surgery. So I was 10 when I had heart surgery, and that year, shortly before heart surgery, my buddy in 5th grade, Don Belka, had a magic kit. It was the 100 greatest tricks of the last 50 years. Okay?
All right.
And it was, box kit on the backside, on the bottom of the box, black and white little editorial with pictures of a place called the Magic Castle. And the booklet, the instructions were written by Leo Benke.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what the Magic Castle was. This place probably didn't even exist anymore. But there was a penny to dime in that kit. And I had that sort of extra time. I think a lot of young kids, they get a magic kit, and it's complicated. It's hard. And then you try it and you fail, and that doesn't feel good.
No.
But I had this downtime, a couple months, recovering.
At home or in hospital or
both.
Okay.
Where I could sort of focus on the instructions and a couple of these effects, and kind of get them down where I could impress a grown up. So that was sort of my introduction to magic, and I was really into it. And then I went a year and a half later. I went to a YMCA camp where a kid named John Hess had like an old school ammo box, and in it he had an Easy Magic popcorn die box with 20th century silks.
Sure.
Great vanish of a silk, that
was
popcorn die box.
Yeah.
And he had a brainwave deck, and he had Chinese sticks, like
Wow,
these
he's a professional.
real magic stuff. I'm like, what is this? What kit did you get this from?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, there's a store, Eagle Magic, downtown Minneapolis. And when my mom picked me up from the bus drop-off from that YMCA camp, we didn't go home. We went down to Portland Avenue, and I borrowed $1.75, bought me a set of cups and balls, and then that's where all my money went.
Yeah, thereafter.
Yeah, exactly. And, once a month, one Saturday, all day, I would spend in that smoke-filled magic shop. I can't believe my mom would drop me off with this strange man, Larry. Go, yep, see you.
See you
in a few
later
hours.
today. Yeah. Now, did Larry give you instructions, or did you kind of pick up from other guys?
Larry was great. He would demo what he kind of had us a little, I think, a step-by-step protocol of the effects that lead someone down the path of, learning more, So I would come in, I'd basically say, here's how much money I got.
Yeah.
And then we'd start a little pile going, with a hot rod and a nickels to dimes and a silk to egg. And then, so a year after that, John Hess, my buddy, who now we would get together and we would go down to Eagle Magic together, he tells me there's a place in Long Island called Tannen's Magic Camp. And I begged my mom, I had a dead aunt who left some money for college, and I'm like, who needs college? Let me go to magic camp,
school.
And so I raided some of that fund, a little bit of money, and went out to magic camp, and that's where Richard Sanders was my counselor, and he did, up until that point, I thought you bought a trick and it had a gimmick, it had a gaff, it had a secret, and Richard Sanders showed me a 4-coin, 4-card basic matrix, right, with no gaffs, just 4 coins, 4 cards, and it was maybe the best trick I'd yet seen.
Ordinary, everyday objects.
Come on.
Because you thought you had to have gimmicks.
That was the thought, at that age.
Interesting.
And I mean, what I brought to camp with me was, a spot can and a vampire block. And
how old were you? Like 11?
I was 12.
12.
So it was, 2 years after that kit.
Yeah.
And man, so
changed your life.
That's when I turned to books and Minnesota. This was pre-internet, but people would come through and lecture. Michael Amar, Eugene Berger, Rocco, Carney.
And your folks just drop you off and said, see you later then also?
Absolutely. And then I was pretty aggressive. Every time there was a lecture that came through, I would hit them up and say, hey, I don't know how long you're in town, but can I get you for a couple hours of private lessons?
Sure.
And more often than not, thumbs up. And that's how, Amar and Berger really were my main influence.
Did you ever envision then, Derek, that you were later going to become friends with these guys?
That was never part of the vision.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine it because I knew I wanted to do what they were doing.
Yeah, but they're on such a pedestal. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And talk about an exciting thing, right? It was not lost on me that, years later when I was living in LA, that I would get an email from Eugene saying, I'm going to be in town in a few weeks and let's get a lunch on the calendar.
Yeah.
What? What? The coolest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that had to be such almost a surreal experience the first time to try, and then thinking, okay, well, they remember my name, first of all, and then they're asking me to kind of hang out with them, and have a bite to eat. And
I think part of that came through also through the proving, though,
True.
Like I was...
Your commitment.
I was a very serious student,
Sure.
And when I'm now very close friends with magicians who were students at Magic Camp when I ended up going back and being a counselor, starting when I was about 18. And now every summer when I can, I go back. And if I can go for the whole week, I go for the whole week.
I was going to ask you about being a counselor. You said that Richard Sanders was your counselor. I've never been to Tannen, so I'm very familiar with the camp and everything, but not the structure specifically. When you said was your counselor, do they have different groups of students who are counseled by somebody and then a general group of counselors? Or how does that work?
When I went, you were assigned a counselor, like just like at YMCA camp.
Okay.
There was a college student who was in the cabin with us at Y camp, and they were our grown up point of contact.
Okay.
Richard, when I went to Magic Camp back when it was still at La Salle Academy, if I'm remembering this correctly, we had a counselor in our room. That has since changed. Now students bunk with other students, and counselors have their own space, which is great. But no, Richard was sort of like my direct counselor. Now it's, there's all counselors, and the counselors teach classes, and the students, the campers, sign up for different classes.
That's what I was going to say. I thought that there were different classes, like whether it was going to be cards or illusions or mentalism or whatever.
Beginning close-up, advanced close-up, and then, so classes, it's great. Classes happen in the morning for a couple hours. And then there's a lecture. So every day there's some lecture, someone giving a lecture. And then after the lecture, there's workshop, which could be juggling or comedy improv or script writing. And then in the evening, there's a professional show.
You said you were encouraged to bring your own stuff, like your spot can and some other kinds of things. Did they say, okay, like with Jack McBride's school, he says, okay, bring your show and we will fine tune it? Or was that kind of what you did?
We brought that for the contest.
Oh.
Because there's the Tannen's camp kind of revolves around a centerpiece is the contest. So day one, anybody who wants to sign up for the contest competes. And then the next day, finalists are announced. And then those finalists, everyone gets a note session with the judges.
Yeah.
Everyone who competes gets a time in a room where they get direct feedback from all the judges.
That's got to be helpful.
It's great. And then the finalists will work with other campers and start running their set with counselors and getting notes and taking ideas and kind of improving the set for the finals that happen, then on Friday.
And when they had the finals, I'm assuming that you incorporate some of the things that you've been learning during the week into. Some people may just throw away everything they started with the show and have a completely different show at the end of the week?
I've never seen it be like a completely different show, though. Like one year, there was a kid named Reed Spool. He's fantastic. And he came in and he did this very dry but technically advanced thimble routine. But he was really nervous and kind of played music but it wasn't necessarily connected with the music. And it was his first year at camp, and he was kind of shy and, kind of unkempt, and so he wouldn't have made it through to the finals if he hadn't had that technical skill. Like he was doing some advanced thimble stuff, some great sleight of hand, and there wasn't much competition that year for him. So he kind of lucked into the finals away. And then 2 days later, he had met some friends, he started jamming, he started getting positive. Because one of the great things about doing the contest, whether you want to win or not, is the camp sees you. So now you've started a dialogue with the other people participating through the week. And whether you're in the finals or not, you can start jamming on ideas and getting feedback and creating, that dialogue with other performers, which is just great. So he started feeling comfortable, and he came up to me in the halls, like in the, one night, and he starts beatboxing, and doing his thimbles while he's beatboxing, just jamming, and he's having fun, and he's loose, and he's relaxed, and I stop him and I go, Reed, that's your act, and he was like, what? And I'm like, you got screw playing the music off the iPod and trying to be serious.
Yeah.
Get in there. And I told him about Andy Kaufman's Mighty Mouse routine.
Yeah.
So
here he comes to save the day.
He comes out for the finals and he acts all shy. Funny. And then and we're gonna begin. Okay, begin. And with complete confidence while beatboxing, he does this incredible routine. Yeah. And then and then he back to, okay, the shy persona
comes back.
Thank you. Okay, I'm done. And he won.
How cool!
You know,
is that?
sort of finding out how to frame or present or bring more of yourself to what it is you're doing is pretty.
Well, that's got to
great.
be pretty fulfilling from the standpoint of knowing that you are putting someone on a track and you are influential to a point where at somewhere down the road somebody might say, well, I remember when I was at camp, you know, and Derek met me in the hall, or whatever it is that, you know, magicians touch people's lives in so many different ways that we may not know until many years later, if at all.
Well, I feel lucky that I've been able to tell Richard Sanders what a profound effect he had.
Yeah.
For me, you know, like that really solidified, like, this is what I'm doing, because that you can do that with ordinary objects.
Yeah.
No way, you know, like, okay, this is too cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In talking back LA, going back to that for a minute, whenever your name came up also, it seems like in the same sentence was Derek Delgadio. Were both of you in LA kind of at the same time?
Yeah.
And good buddies?
Very good buddies.
Yeah. So his style is completely different from yours as far as being technical, and you're a funny guy and doing a lot of good stuff though too. I mean, your magic is solid, and I've seen it several times and very enjoyable. But how'd you get to be friends with Derek Delgadio then?
Well, it's funny you talk about the magic being solid. Like, I am a comedian. I am a comedic magician, but high impact magic is always the foundation. You know, I don't want to do a blow off gag. Yeah. I want to mess the audience up.
Yeah.
I want to hit them hard. I want them to see the best magic they've ever seen in their life.
Sure.
And I'm naturally, I sort of lean towards levity in life. So, you know, I want it to be very funny as well. But they share space. You know, they're both equally important to me. And, you know, I think of Amazing Jonathan, who is a legend and so incredible, but he didn't do a lot of like blow your mind magic. You know, he kind of allowed there to be just the gag or the blow off. Yeah. And it was more about his manic personality.
Yeah, over the top.
Yeah. But strong magic, very important to me. And Derek and I met, you know, through living in LA, and it's funny. He's an inspiration because Derek is a guy who I always, my career philosophy in many ways is derived from improv comedy, which is this idea of yes and. In improv comedy, if someone says, nice hat, you say, yes, and my grandmother gave it to me for my birthday. Yes. And she always gives you one for your birthday. Yes. And, you know, and that's how you build sort of that, the world. And I remember leaving an improv show one night and getting off stage and thinking, oh, this is like a life philosophy, you know, like, and that's how I've followed my career. And I feel it has served me so well. I mentioned I've never had a job because I say, if an opportunity comes my way, I say yes. And then I try to think, okay, and what's the more here, or where could this possibly lead, or how can I use this opportunity to build to the next potential opportunity? But I say yes. I've said yes to a lot. You know,
that's my magic word, is yes. I always feel like you're missing an opportunity if you don't say yes.
And that's true to a point. So let's look at my friend Derek Delgadio, who in LA, I would call him sometimes and say, hey, there's a 2-hour roving close-up gig. It's in town. I can't do it. It's $1,500, right? No. Oh, are you busy? No. Are you rich? No. I mean, I remember some of these opportunities when I call him. This is when he wasn't really working a lot, and Vanessa at the time had a sort of a day job that she didn't love, and she was sort of, you know, really supporting them at that time. And I'm like, what's the deal? You know, it's nothing. This is effortless. And he's like, yeah, I don't like how I feel about myself when I do those types of shows. Now, what he did is he focused on what he wanted his work to be. Like, very specific, right?
As an artist?
As an artist. And what message, what story, what experience he was determined to create.
Sounds like Armando Lucero. A lot like that.
Well, I saw it blossom into like unbelievable manifestation of vision.
Because he kept true to his goal.
I can only imagine, yes. You know, like for him to say, I want it to be this way, and then to have the opportunities that then opened up and the people that came to his aid, you know, the people, you know, Frank Oz.
Frank Oz, right.
And Frank didn't come to him. You know, he had the chutzpah to say, hey, would you be interested in being a collaborator on this effort? But it made me think back on my own journey and think, you know, could I have been truer to a more clear vision? And I don't live with a lot of regret. But Derek, it was really eye-opening and inspiring how he approached his path with the discipline to say no.
It wasn't about the money. It was about his artistic expression, being able to do what he wanted to do.
I imagine so. You know, and I really admire that in him.
Yeah.
You know, he said a great thing to me once. We were hiking Runyon Canyon, and the question he posed was, and I think this is a question he thinks a lot about his work, is what do you want your magic to do? Like, think of it in the terms of physics. Like the word work in physics is the effect of something on space and time.
Okay.
Right? So what do you want your work to do?
Right.
Like, what effect do you want it to have? What legacy do you want it to have? What, you know, that's just such a great meditation when you're diving into the creative process.
You still think about that?
All the time.
Do you? Okay.
All the time. You know? The answer that popped to my head immediately, and it's lofty, but it's what emerged was this word to heal. And I don't even quite know what it means, but boy, wouldn't it be great if my effort, my work in some way could, you know, have that kind of positive effect for someone in some audience somewhere where some pain, some loss is mended. Yeah. And they're encouraged to move beyond it. You know, it's a lofty.
It's true. I was talking to Rolando Santos about a similar thing that he did one time at a restaurant. I think he was in Chile, and he saw these three ladies that were at an outdoor cafe as he was leaving, and something called him to kind of do a magic trick for him, which he did. And as he was leaving, he just did the one and done, and they said, "Thank you so much, it really meant a lot." So, "Well, you're welcome." He said, "No, you really did affect us." Said, "We are here with our mother. She's going into hospice, and she was not coming out. And this is our last meal together with her, and you have given us a time in which she's got a smile on her face and a memory in our lives that we won't ever forget, because we want to remember her like this now, and you've created that moment." Those kinds of things that we do in our lives that in that case, he knew immediately what happened, but so many other times there might be things like you were talking about Reed, that young man there whose life 20 years from now might be the next, I don't know, David Copperfield or whatever, or it could be Bill Gates. I don't know. I mean, whatever he decides to do, but he's going to look back and say, I was encouraged by someone affirming that what I did was the right thing. Rather than listening to somebody else, I listened to my inner soul, my inner being. And, you're encouraging people by what you're doing. Sure.
And with Reed, whether he becomes a professional entertainer or whatever his path is, to discover that his impulse is the most true and correct path for him.
Right. He's setting his own course.
Man, we spend so much time trying to think about, well, what should I do? What do they want? What will work in the world? And again, rolling back to Derek, just being fearlessly true to yourself. That I think that may be enough.
Yeah. Wow, pretty heavy. So you were friends with Derek for a long time, and then he still lives in L.A.? Is that right? Or did he move too?
No, he did it in and of itself, and ended up moving to New York City.
Oh, he's in the city. Okay.
During the run of that show, and then they bought a place, right there in Manhattan.
What's his next thing? Do you know if he's working on another?
That's a good question.
Okay.
But whatever it is, I know he's thinking about it.
Yeah.
And he's thinking about it in earnest.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
You touched also on something that I've been asking a few people here of late in some of the episodes I've been recording about comedy magic. I was just talking to Jeff Hobson and a few other people about what is a comedy magician. And he said, that's the kind of the age-old question. Is it a comedian who does magic or a magician who does comedy? Kind of a thing. And so you kind of touched on that then a little bit about the importance of where the magic must be strong. I think of someone like Mike Hammer, for an example, whenever he's performing and he's doing a lot of funny things, but then he pauses long enough just before the magic happens, so there's a quiet moment that's discernible. It's like boom, and then something happens that's magic. In other words, everything leads up to it, and then it happens, as opposed to rushing through it because you're doing everything else, and your timing is, everyone's timing is a little bit different as to when you say your lines and how much time you leave in between before the next joke or whatever. But you, like in his case, I like the way that he focuses on the effect of ultimately, this is magic that I do.
I think Juan, I saw him lecture at a MagicCon years ago in San Diego, and he said it perfect. He talked about, he's very funny,
Juan's a very funny guy.
But when he approaches the moment of magic, the comedy becomes less and less and less.
Oh.
He consciously dials it down. A great example is, I love The Invisible Deck, and it's a guilty pleasure that it's a part of my working set and will be for life. But I used to do a thing where I said, I pulled out the deck and I would say, and what card did you turn over in your imagination? And they would say...
8 of diamonds.
And I would say, Jack of clubs. And it got a laugh.
Yes.
And then I go, no, 8 of diamonds. And then I would take the cards out and spread through and reveal. But I stopped doing that because that non sequitur moment of humor did scatter, created a little static before what is truly an astonishing thing. So from the moment they say the name of the identity of their card to the moment I reveal one face down, I don't want any distraction. I don't want someone to look away and smile at their friend and go, the way we do when we laugh. I want all eyes on the clarity up until no freaking way, So
all the impact is on the trick itself.
So it is kind of like a weaving back and forth of...
when I saw you working the comedy festival there in Austin just a few months ago, I think you closed with, I saw you doing some walk around a little bit with that, and you've got a good closer. It's just more than just the invisible deck that you're doing.
Oh, sure.
And then I think you were doing it, not just walk around, but you had, I think, maybe the same thing. Was it a variation that you closed with? Seems like it was a card trick that trying to remember what it was.
Well, it's like a follow-up to the Invisible Deck, where, I do the Invisible Deck early on, and that helps me establish a relationship with someone in the audience who is skeptical. Mm-hmm. And then
That's right. That's what
I call
it was.
that person back on stage now, and we kind of go through an even more fair selection process.
Was that the one with the sack, the bag, and all that?
The Invisible Deck has the bags.
Okay.
Yeah, the imagination.
Yeah, not going to go into all of it, obviously.
No,
but
that's fine.
No, it's just, I remember that was very funny. That was really a great set, as far as not just your set, but also working with Nick DeFott and Rob Zabrecki and you. I mean, I don't know who put that tour together, but that was just amazing.
It was a really nice run. Yeah, we did the Moon Tower Comedy Festival in Austin, Texas, and we did, I want to say 4 or 5 shows. The 3 of us, I hosted, and then Rob came out and did a full set. I did a little more time, then Nick came out and did a full set, and then I closed us out. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was really a blast. We're doing it again at the New York Comedy Festival in November.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we'll do, right now we're booked to do 2 shows in the festival lineup.
Do you have one of you 3 who actually books those kinds of things, or you got an agent that books all of you guys?
No, we're working with, so there's an entity called Genius and Poison, and they're a production company that is right now in the process of filming magic specials and sort of archiving right now, kind of collecting a catalog of these concerts. Yeah. Rob was the first magician they shot, and Nick and I both shot specials in the spring together in L.A., and so it's through that production company, and they have deep relationships with the comedy world, and I can't remember the name of they a couple years ago shot a series of comedy magic shows that were multiple performers, so hosted by a performer and a couple of shorter sets every episode. Mm-hmm. And I think they're looking to find a streaming platform for that before they start unrolling the full concert specials that they have.
Is that going to be like on streaming, like on Netflix or something?
Exactly. That would be ideal. But they don't, right now they're shooting everything and cataloging everything on spec
before they can go sell it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And it'll land somewhere. I mean, it's too much good material.
It certainly sounds like it. Is it just the 3 of you guys then on that Poison, or are there other people part of the production?
Other people are being
filmed also.
Filmed.
That's
for
what
sure.
I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this about the comedy circuit not being what it used to be in days past, but is there a comedy tour that you go on, or do you ever go to clubs?
Funny. I love working clubs. Okay. I will headline my local club, Acme Comedy Company in Minneapolis. I'll do Halloween week, the last week in October.
Why Halloween week?
We did it last year and it was great.
I mean, do you do anything that's got like themed, like seance kind of thing, or nothing crazy?
No.
Okay.
I mean, who knows? But but no. And this is the second year that Lewis has booked me for that week. Mm-hmm. I traditionally will headline a week every year, somewhere in the lineup. It was when I lived in LA for 20 years, it was always a wonderful excuse to come back. Yeah. And usually then I would book it like Thanksgiving or around Christmas time, something that, got me back home and helped subsidize a trip back for a holiday.
Smart thinking.
That club, Acme Comedy Company, in the 80s was called The Rib Tickler, and it was a comedy magic club. Yeah. And a guy named David Woods called Mike Lacey in Hermosa Beach and said, "Hey, can I open your club in Minneapolis?" And Mike didn't see any competition there and said, "Sure." So, I mean, but he mirrored it. He every night opened with a full playing of Frank Sinatra's New York, New York, just like at Comedy and Magic. He had great posters around the space, just like Comedy and Magic Club. And I'm 14, I'm 15 years old, and I'm getting my mom to sneak me in to see Carney and Kozak and Scott Servine and Christopher Hart on that tiny stage performing with headline comics, Jake Johansson and just great acts. and clearly had an influence on me. I've had relationships with some club bookers, but I've never had an agent that works specifically with clubs. I love working clubs. Traditionally, if you're not a draw, if you're not doing a door deal, it's not the most lucrative path. So that's kind of gotten in the way, where I can make more doing a one-night college or corporate than I could maybe in a whole week at a club.
I understand that.
But the club, you get to do
Work on
5 to
material.
6 shows.
Yeah.
And
get your timing down.
And there's this great thing in a club setting where, at a corporate, they are the group, they're the host, you're the guest, right?
Correct.
And that's a certain dynamic. Same at a college. College, they're the host, you're the guest. At a club, you're the host, and the audience is your guest.
Completely different mindset.
So it really is. You have a lot more freedom, a lot more luxury to just really be completely whatever you want to be any given night,
That is really a good perspective.
It's really wild. And also think about this, like in a corporate setting, they're the group, they're unified, they across the room, they all know each other for the most part. In a comedy club, it's a couple, it's a group of 4, they're all,
very disparate.
They are, yeah. So I love that energy, and I'd like to work more clubs,
Well, I know like Harrison Greenbaum does that. I mean, he's working like one club or another and then going in a taxi across to another. I mean, just to...
He's doing guest sets. He's doing 3, 4 a night sometimes.
A night. Yeah. The guy is just crazy.
He is.
I mean, he's doing fine. I mean, he was doing the thing in Vegas for a long time, and I think by his choice, he wanted to go back to the city, and start doing this because he just loves the nightlife or whatever. I mean, golly, yeah, he's just always working on something.
I almost feel Harrison's... he's such a great stand-up. I know he loves magic, but he definitely doesn't need the magic.
No.
To deliver a great headline set. He's so sharp, and some of his audience improv and interaction is just on point.
When I've worked in a comedy club and doing magic, the comedians don't respect magicians because they feel as if we're hiding behind something. It's kind of like a comedy or a comedian should be working behind a microphone naked, and a magician has a newspaper he's tearing up, or he's got some sort of a wand or whatever. It's a prop magic, a prop magician or prop comic basically. And so they kind of think of this as that way. Have you felt that way at all among your peers? Or your
I've gotten that
peers?
Vibe, in the green room, and my personal experience is once a comic then sees me do my time after, they get that I'm doing the work. I'm not just resting on, like I'm actually doing something out there, and I actually have a voice, and I'm actually, I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work of comedy. And so I feel like I then I earned their respect in that way.
Yeah.
But also, screw them. I think sometimes some comics will get frustrated because, it is hard to reset the room after, magic is a different thing. It does scatter your brain. It's like, wait a minute, what? It's, and so then to go back and just capture them and take them on a journey just using words, it can be a challenge to follow a really good variety act, but also that's your job.
I think it was Max Maven and told that great story about, you've heard this I'm sure before too, in which this lady had seen this magician came into his dressing room and said, I love you, I want to have your baby, you just, take me, I'm yours. And it's like, and he said, what show did you see?
Oh, that's very funny.
Was it my early one or my late one? So that was the important thing.
I will say I've never had that experience. I think my work has a different effect on people.
Yeah. working comedy clubs, it can be a challenge. Once again, I was doing a Bill and Lemon, and afterwards we went out with the comedians, and we were sitting around having a beer or whatever, and saying, well, what do you think about this joke or that? And everybody's talking. I said, well, I was doing this thing with the Bill and Lemon. Said it was a Bill and Lemon, right? And I said, yeah, but they signed the bill. Yeah, it was a Bill and Lemon, right? Yeah, but then actually the person and I said, yeah, but it's still a Bill and Lemon. When it comes down to it, the effect is what they look at. And the same thing like with the joke. They laughed, so it must have been funny. How do you sustain that laughter or whatever it is? They're looking at things a little bit differently. Magicians have a different way of looking. That made me start thinking that too.
I got to say, I feel like a joke and a good magic trick, a good joke and a good magic trick, they're very parallel. Mm-hmm. They both tell a story.
Yeah.
And they both, if they're good, have an ending that is both surprising yet inevitable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a good punchline, whoa, I didn't see that coming, but now that it's said, of course.
Sense. Yeah.
And same with a magic trick. Whoa, I didn't see that coming, but now, in hindsight, where else could that have gone? And incredible. And they both, laughter comes from surprise.
Right.
You're surprised, and the reaction is laughter, and astonishment is surprise.
Right.
I think they're very parallel.
I think people laugh in spite of themselves because they're surprised. They don't know what other kind of however to react.
There's different types of laughter, isn't there? Right? Like if you swear a lot, there's that taboo laughter, mm-hmm. which is it's still laughter, mm-hmm. but it's not the most quality laughter. Quality laughter comes from a story or a picture that
you've created,
that you make them create in their mind.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. One last thing before I forget about this, and that is that you had written a children's book also about Humpty Dumpty lived near a wall.
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
what it's called. Humpty Dumpty lived near a wall.
Okay. How did that come about? Did you write that for your children?
I wrote that before I had kids, and I was using it. I wrote it and then was using it as sort of a spoken word. It was just a non sequitur, sort of to add theatrical texture in my working show. And at the time, I was doing a lot of colleges, and I started having some of these students come up after and be like, "That poem inspired me," because the poem is, it's what I want it to do is inspire people to take action. Mm-hmm. In the direction of overcoming any obstacle that they may perceive in their world. This is what Humpty does in the story. He wants to look over the wall, so he builds a ladder. And even though he still falls, the traditional story still happens. No one can put him back together. That sacrifice has inspired everyone in the kingdom to start building their own ladders. So the book came about because people were asking, "Hey, how do I find it? Who wrote that? I want that. I want to have access to that." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Well, I wrote it," and so I got my friend to illustrate it, and it took him 5 years.
Wow!
And I self-published a bunch to travel around and sell as merch. Mm-hmm. To have, and about a couple weeks into having the copy of those books in my hand. Our buddy Derek Hughes gives me a call, and he's like, "Hey, man, FedEx me a book." Mm-hmm. He was doing the show in and of itself, and someone from a publishing company had come to the show, and they reached out to him, and they're like, "Your show affected me, and I don't know if you have any book ideas, but I'd love to have a meeting." And mm-hmm. Derek didn't have any book ideas himself, but he went to that meeting, and he handed them my book.
Yeah.
And they ended up publishing it. So
how great is that?
I mean, that's a good friend.
Yeah, that is a good friend. He put you in touch, and so makes you a published author rather than self-published.
Published author.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon.
It is. Yeah, it's published by Penguin Random House, and it's available on Amazon. Humpty Dumpty lived near a wall, and I've incorporated into the show this last run I did in Mac's room. When I have the luxury of a larger space and digital, I have a video of the book large, so you can see the pages turning.
The background.
And I did this at Liberty Magic as well, where I kind of integrated the book into a through line in the show that leads to a nice little magical moment with an egg. And
Have you thought about writing anything else since then, or is
Jack and Jill live near a hill is something that's
okay.
on the back
So everything's
burner.
adjacent, basically. It sounds like. Yeah. Funny. So Derek Hughes is adjacent to this. It's something that. Well, listen, I appreciate that your time that you've spent talking about such a variety of subjects that was gone so quickly. Before we close, the name of my podcast is called The Magic Word, and I always ask my guests, what is your magic word? What is this important? You've kind of already shared that, I guess, of what Derek has shared with you and what you live by. But what is your philosophy? What's important to you?
Well, let's call back to every moment counts. Mm-hmm. Like every moment counts.
I love it.
We're here. We're breathing. We're conscious. And what a bizarre gift. Mm-hmm. So let's not waste it.
Good point. Derek, thanks very much. Appreciate it. So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Derek Hughes. This is Scotty out. Wow, what a fun conversation that was. I really enjoyed having you as my guest, Derek. I thank you for taking the time to sit down and chat with us there in that little back room in the high school while we were in Colon, Michigan. And you're not the first person to sit in that room and chat with me. Several others have done that as well in the past. It just is a nice, kind of an intimate room where it has good soundproofing and everything. But aside from that, I thank you very much for all of the wisdom and suggestions that you gave us in this. Also, during this week's episode, Derek had mentioned that his first tattoo was the one that says E equals MC squared for every moment counts. And if you'll go to this week's episode of the Magic Word Podcast there, you will see a picture of that I took that is on the website. And also, by the way, there is a link that will take you to Amazon directly so you can go to your account. And also, if you click on that, perhaps that might even get a couple of pennies to us in the associates. I think it's called the Associates Program for Amazon. Every little bit helps. And for that matter, as we start into the new year, any financial aid that you can provide us through donations or weekly pledges and becoming a friend of the Magic Word, that would be greatly appreciated. Well, again, it's been a fun time during this past year. I have enjoyed it, and I hope that each of you have enjoyed it as well. And I'm looking forward to this new year of 2026 and to having some great fun and some great conversations with more great conjurers. So, until next week, stay well, get booked, and remember that every moment counts. This is Scotty out.